G'day, I'm Neil and my handle is Wiley11. I'm just going to put my disclaimer here. Whatever I do and say on these videos is well-intentioned and well-meaning advice. I accept no liabilities whatsoever for any disclosures. If you take some advice or act on something that I'm saying on these videos, you do so entirely at your own risk. I'm doing it based on my experience. These videos are my attempt to give back to YouTube for the help and assistance that YouTube has given me. So once again, you follow along or follow advice from these videos entirely at your own risk. Okay, and if you're not happy to do that, click this off and off you go. Because this is purely my attempt to give back to YouTube, as I said, for the help and advice that I have received out of YouTube. So this is just my little attempt to give back. If you're all happy to follow along at your own risk, buckle up, sit in, let's get into it. Okay, so what we've got here is the rear wheel with the plastic hubcap removed, and the aim of this is to replace the rear brake shoes. So here are some new brake shoes that I've ordered, complete with the springs. Normally you would take the exhaust off from below the mounter at these two nuts on the studs, and then just remove the pins on the side bracket. But what we found is that when we took the side bracket out, there was enough space to get down to the rear wheel. Here's the castle nut with the lock pin. I removed the lock pin, just leaving the castle nut, so that the castle covers on the floor. This is Zoomie's special socket on my mate's breaker bar with a 4-foot long piece of steel to go over that. And when we turned it, we spun the back wheel and spun the back wheel, and so then we thought we'd try an impact driver. And then we reassembled everything and rode it to the local tyre shop, where he used a rattle gun to pull it off in about 2 seconds and reassemble it for us to spec, so that we got it off ourselves when we got back to Kev's. So here it is, the wheel's off. We could slide it between the exhaust and the rear axle. There was just enough space without taking off the nuts. So what Kev determined was there was enough material left on the rear shoes, and he just roughed them up with sandpaper. I don't know what grit he's using there, but it was a fairly coarse grit. And as you can see, the drum itself was actually pretty good. There were no bevels or marks in it or grooves in it, and it was a bit rusty, so we used the RP7, which lubricates and removes rust. And basically that was it. We just reassembled the bike as it was, and the rear adjusted the cable on the rear brake, and it is as good as new. It is in place, and as you can see, the brakes are done. Now that little bolt in there, alright, you guys see that? That thing gave us a lot of trouble because it's not the original one for the bike, and there's another bolt up under here that is the original one. I don't know if you can see it. I can't see down that far, I can't bend that low. But the exhaust mounts are behind this cowl here. And what I've done, we didn't take that exhaust mount off, we just removed those two bolts. And because it's been at some point in his life lost by a previous owner, yeah, you get the point. It was a bastard to get back on. So here's the adjuster here. Alright, so there's your adjuster. And what you do is you tighten that up until your handbrake has just enough travel. The wheel, see, there's only about an inch of travel there, and that's probably even a little bit too tight. But the problem I've got is in behind this cowl here, there's brackets that hold this cable that go down and around and up under the bike and down to there. And there's a splitter down here underneath this part of the cowl. And the brackets that are holding the cable in place have snapped off. So The next job for Zoomie is, as you can see, when he got hit, quite a bit of damage happened. There's split cowls, there's pretty rough repairs by me just to get the cowls back on. As you can see, there's lots of damage still to him. And up under the front here, he's got some damage. And what I want to do is, with all of these missing bits and pieces, he's got missing bolts. See, there's a bolt missing out of here somewhere, because there's simply nothing for it to bolt into. When you push the bolt in, it just keeps spinning and spinning. It's that one there. There's no bolt in it. It's because it just spins and spins and spins. There's nothing for it to bolt into. And there's just missing bits and pieces that are broken off with age, and broken off with the accident that he had. And I just haven't got around to fixing those. You can see that new seat that I put on there is looking a treat. And if you're wondering why after 20 odd years he still looks so clean and nice and black, I actually use black boot polish on him. I shine it up with black boot, all the black pieces, and the seat and the back, or you know, the helmet carrier here at the back. They all get treated with black boot polish. Here's another job that needs doing. You might be able to see that there's a lot of things that need doing to the bike in terms of this. But these are all other jobs too in future series that I'm going to get into. Pull all these cowls off. I've got acrylic and hot glue, and I'm going to rebuild the parts that are the tabs and that have broken off. I'm going to put acrylic and hot glue into them. I've got to upgrade the headlamp. I've got a kit to upgrade it, and I haven't put it in because I had a crack at it, and I literally found that the place to mount the ballast for the kit interferes with some cabling that goes in behind here. So I've got to run the ballast somewhere else on the bike. There's plenty of room in behind here, it's just that they haven't given me enough wire with what they have given me to run that ballast. And also the fitting, the adapter fitting for their bulb is a little bit, it's a little bit ordinary. So I want to see if I can do something with the fitting. The light itself works. I've tested it on a battery. Otherwise, Zoomie is actually a really nice little bike. He runs well. He gets me from A to B, to C to D to E to F. He's never let me down. He's always got me where, even when he had a blown motor, you know, he still got me where I needed to be with a blown motor. How good's that? And he got me home. And then he got the motor done. He went 400 or 500 metres and then he frees up and shit himself again, basically. But 400 metres at a time, yep, ride him, let him settle down, ride him again, I knew the motor was blown. There's nothing I could do about it. It was bad fuel. You go to these garages around the place and they put additives in their fuel. And what happens is they get to the bottom of the tank and suddenly you get more additive than you get fuel. So you get pure oil blowing through your motor, and then the oil pump belt breaks because the oil pump's working overtime because it's old, it's 20 years old. Yeah, it snaps and you get no oil going through your motor, and then she seizes up and that's the end of it. He's oil injected, it's 2-stroke with oil injection. Here's the front brake done. It's got a new rotor. We put on a new rotor. We didn't change the pads. In the end, the pads didn't need to be changed because there was enough material on them. And we had a bastard of a job bleeding it because there was a problem at the master cylinder that we didn't realise was simply that, well, there were some things that we didn't know, which is unique to these bikes. And we found out the hard way because we spent about 3 hours bleeding brakes. But we finally got pressure in the front brake again, and it just sorted itself out in the end. Gravity did the job for us in the end. It just, here's his, he's got a little, where is it? Here. Got a little, and as you can see, that's now full. But what happened was the fluid needed to drain down into the system, and that was the problem. Anyway, that's it, we're done. I'm going to wrap this video up and go back upstairs and just give you a quick wrap up. 35-cent coffee. As good as it ever was. There's a guy working next door. He started up with a planer a few minutes ago, so hopefully he'll just be quiet for me long enough to get this finished. We want to do the wrap up of the rear brakes. I've got a, well, you saw in the video that everything was, and I'm riding the bike again, everything's finished up, put back together. That rear bolt was a bastard because it had a little nut. He's back. It had a little nut on the back of the bracket, and there's no room to get in behind the bracket to fix the nut in. So it wasn't a captive nut. It was just a bolt through to a nut. It took us nearly an hour to get it back on. Unbelievable. Okay. I can't take a trick with him. I just need 5 minutes, even less, 2 minutes. Righto. So here we are. It's all buttoned up. The next job with Zoomie will be something to do with electrics. I've got quite a few jobs still to do, as you saw. But for now, the brakes are all finished, and I'm riding the bike back on the road, and he's happy and he's running very well. So he needs a clean. As you saw, he's a bit filthy, so I've got to get down there with some boot polish and shine him up again. I keep him in good nick. I keep all the crap out of him. I keep the salt off him, and I try the best I can to keep him well maintained. Check all his fluids. He's got oil. I know that he's got brake fluid and oil. I check those fluids regularly, make sure that he's not using any of them. He is using a bit of oil, but he's oil injected, two-stroke, so it doesn't use a hell of a lot. But I know that I got some bad fuel again because I had to put in down near Coolangatta, and I know that I got bad fuel down there because he was coughing on the way home. I had to drain the fuel, I had to drain the tank, I had to drain the carby, I had to flush it all out with air. Then I had to prime it all and get it all back through the system and run it with primer. And I used basically a product here called Start You Bastard, which is nitro. I flushed the line with nitro. Pure nitro. It's called Start You Bastard. That's the product's name. I kid you not. And that's what I used. I put it down the journal, straight through the piston, took the spark plug out, Start You Bastard, straight in the chamber. Bang! She fired off like a beauty, and a big cloud of smoke coming out the back, and he's running smooth again. But it's a big job just because I've got bad fuel. And if you ever get bad fuel, it's a mongrel of a job to get it out of your system. But I had to clean the carby bowl, you know, the whole thing. I had to strip the carby, strip everything down, Start Your Bastard through all the journals, everything. Pure nitrous, it evaporates away very, very quickly. And, you know, you just whack it through your journals. It cleans them straight off. If there's any residual crap in there, it just flushes it straight through, and it gets out the other side. And you should have seen the amount of crap that came out. And I know it was in that fuel. There's no inline filter between my fuel tank and my carby, and that's the original line. So what I'm going to do next time I see Brad, I'll get him to install an inline filter to make sure that none of that crap hits the carby. Alright, so that's it for now. I want you to make good decisions and do good things. If you can't do it anyway. Keep on swinging. I'll see you at the next one. Thanks for watching.